Welcome to Idaho Today. I'm Melissa Paul. Last month, Apple TV Plus premiered a powerful new docu-series called Vietnam, the War That Changed America. Spanning nearly 2 decades of conflict, the Vietnam War left a mark on the United States, shaping everything from politics to public opinion. And this series actually brings the war to life through the eyes of those who served, offering an intimate first-hand account of the battles, the sacrifices, and the personal stories behind the headlines. With never-before-seen footage, it actually pulls back the curtain on the realities of war. So our producer, Emma Adams, spoke with the creators of the documentary to learn why this story needs to be told now.
You know, we were interested in well, obviously it was the 50th anniversary of the end of the war coming up. And it's kind of, you know, and for some people it's going to be like the last chance to hear from them for an anniversary. And I suppose what we wanted to capture was the human experience of the war. There have been lots of sort of history projects and history documentaries that have kind of explained what happened. But we wanted to kind of get inside the human experience of it and try and kind of almost make the real war movies of Vietnam. The Vietnam War was a war that was kind of filmed in a way that no war before or since really has been filmed. Documentary crews or news crews kind of had free access to, you know, being with the soldiers. And so that allows us to kind of, in a way, try and take you into the war from the people who were there's point of view.
A lot of the time we're finding people who were in the footage, right? So they're basically just telling us their stories of what's happening. And so we get really excited because we'd find things like, you know, we found a woman who was kind of getting her wings, right? And she's with a load of South Vietnamese pilots. And so we get this footage and we don't really know what it is, but it's quite cool. And so we track down that woman. And then she tells us this amazing story, right? About how she was the wife of the ABC news or bureau chief, and she got tired of being introduced as sort of the wife of and really wanted to be a journalist. So this whole story then unfolds, and then she ends up going to Hue during Tet, and then she had her own recordings, right? So she'd kept them, and so she just mailed them to us, and we digitized them, and it's like live from that moment, and we have all this amazing archive of Hue. It was a really exciting project because it's like a puzzle, and you're fitting everything together, and that's just one example of many.
You know, it's very difficult stuff to talk about, and some of them haven't spoken about it for 50 years. And so it was in kind of, you know, we're in immense gratitude towards them for sharing their stories with us. Because often that kind of, you know, woke up a lot of feelings from the past or things that had been submerged for decades. And so that was a kind of, it was more a challenge for them, and we're very grateful for them that they trusted us with their story. Well, he was absolutely our first choice for this. We were delighted that he said yes. And I think he just brings a humanity to it. You know, our series is kind of about the human experience and about the lived experience. And, you know, as an actor, we feel that he's someone that kind of exudes that humanity and sort of moral seriousness. And it was just, you know, so exciting when he started recording, you know, the narration with us. It just kind of clearly, we think he's a fantastic fit, and we're unbelievably grateful that he did it. And I think he found it, interestingly, he found it emotional doing it, and actually kind of sometimes would take a pause in the recording because he was kind of impacted by the stories we were telling.
We interviewed someone called Bill Broyles in episode 4, and he is in the jungle, and he says at one point, the last thing you want to be in war is alone, right? And I think what we found doing this is that that's also true after the war. And I think when, you know, David touched on this earlier, but when people came home, they felt, you know, very lonely. It was a very controversial war. It wasn't something that they felt they could talk openly about. So a lot of the stuff is, you know, is buried deep inside. And so I think hopefully having the reunions, you know, from people from all sides and watching other people talk about that stuff openly is helpful, you know, to other veterans, again, from all sides.